start right now. Alright. Hello, everyone. It is me, the local virtual baker. I'm still throwing some things around. I wanted to get myself a spot of tea, as we are going to do some very intense readings today. We're gonna read so many articles and do so many things. You have no idea. But before we do that... There we go. Oh, I guess I don't have the...
No. Let's see.
Well, I think they can definitely hear you at this point. However, they're not going to be able to...
They can hear me. They can hear me just fine.
Yes.
Oh, my audio seems a little bit better.
Yeah, for one thing, I am not noticing a very prominent thing. For now.
Yes. You want to know what the problem was?
It needed batteries?
No. When the battery was shoved in there, the plastic part that actually helped pop up the the battery.
Hi, Sprockets.
Was blocking the poles.
Huh. Sounds about right, though.
It was working just fine. The battery was fine. It's just, it wasn't hooked up.
Sounds about right once more. Okay, I'm gonna do something really risky. Uh-oh. Well, I mean, that's nothing bad to see, though. But that's not the right one I want you to see.
I might invest in a new system pretty soon.
Very cool, very cool.
Let's try and make sure that January is very good to me. I'm expecting a big bonus. I worked all the way through Christmas, did double time for over 37 an hour for 12 hours. Man, my life has been like a freaking roller coaster you wouldn't believe. I'm not gonna get into it.
Yep. Alright. So, I guess I should explain what everyone is getting themselves into, because I just now got it finally finished up. We are going to be looking into recipe making. I have been given a random surge of just energy, motivation, whatever you may want to say. Yeah, we are going to be doing some baking. Well, not baking, we're going to be doing the behind the scenes nonsense when it comes to baking. I've already done a good sum of it, but I want to continue doing it, and I feel like it'd be fun to stream it. This is going to be, as you can tell, a very relaxing stream. If you gotta study for something, like you just got back to school, this is a good stream to have in the background. And if you also need to do algebra and need help with that, or maybe you need some help with spreadsheets, I can be your guy. I can help you with that. We're gonna be doing some nerdy stuff. We're gonna be doing the dorky breads nonsense that normally I don't show because it's so it can be a little bit boring. But I want to do it because I want to have a little fun here. So we are going to be talking about and doing stuff with my pets. All of them, by the way. So yeah, even though I'm going to be referring to my own recipe book, which is in the description if you want to go check it. Yeah, that's it. So I'm going to be doing a lot of that nonsense. But I guess I should explain, because on Twitter, if anyone has seen the Twitter nonsense that I've been going on about, I have been having some bread nonsense going on, in the sense of like, hey, I just kind of relearned not hydration, but basic ingredient percent. For milk bread is a very complicated recipe, because you're not only taking into the account of two separate hydrations, you're also trying to make it into one cohesive thing. And then that kind of set me down into this road of, oh my god, I've been doing my recipes wrong this entire time. So there's a lot of stuff, and I thought I would have fun in showing off my findings today. First and foremost, I must tell you all that I am the most fake baker alive, and I am the worst baker alive. Wait, my tea's going off. Hold on, this is more important.
Really? You exposed yourself. You're still better than me, I'm pretty sure. Because I couldn't come up with any of these recipes.
Go with rock tea.
Man, I wish I had access to these books, otherwise I would have exposed you a while ago. Why did it take you so long to actually get these things out?
Yeah, remember the lemon chong I made the other day? I actually did the packaging and all that stuff today. I'm gonna be putting it into my volcanic rock tea. How that turns out.
Ooh.
Not made of actual rocks, FY.
Well, of course not.
Okay.
You know what kind of food I actually laugh at before you start this?
Yummy. Alright.
Actually, a food that was served called, like, spicy rocks.
Sounds about right. I mean, there's pop rocks and then spicy rocks.
No, they're actually just rocks that you just suck the flavoring off of.
I've heard of those
I'm
before.
laughing at it because why would you sell that?
Why would you buy that, more importantly?
Yeah, more importantly, why would you buy something you can't eat? It's...
I mean...
bad.
I mean... Pufferfish. Pufferfish, there we go. There's your answer. Alright, so to explain my madness and the heap of, I guess, motivation have been happening. So, all my bread recipes, I use this spreadsheet. This spreadsheet I have made myself. And has helped me try and make the best recipes that I can. I will show it. These recipes, every single recipe that you see on this right here, except for like the apple pie dough and the banana bread, because those are just kind of intuition. Every bread recipe on this thing has been made through this. Has been made through this spreadsheet. So this is all very, very, very important, and yeah. But something I realized is that when I do when I do the ingredient percentage, I just realized today that I've been doing it wrong the entire time. Because what this spreadsheet is doing, it's taking the number from the yeast and I also dividing it all by the overall grade. Now that is not how you do baker's percentage. Baker's percentage is when you do the ingredient and then you divide it by the flour, funny enough. So I realized that recently, because like, well, how do you do hydration percentage? The same exact thing, except for, the overall, you're doing water, and then the overall is going with the flour, so then you're getting the hydration water percentage, and then it's like, oh, you know, it never really struck my head that, like, that's the yeast percentage, and and it kind of made me realize that I've been doing this wrong the entire time. Because now, when I do look at this, and I do this properly, because this would require, C5, and C10, that I've actually been using double the amount of needed yeast I would really want in this recipe. Because usually for a recipe you want a 1% of salt to sugar, salt to yeast, but I'm not even sure about that anymore either. So I'm trying to look up basic percentage for that as well, and I've been just re-looking at a bunch of my resources. I got a few hundred books here
Oh man.
that I'm looking through. Yeah, I'm trying to look past this. Right now, I'm through a section of monkey bread, and although monkey bread is a very good and delicious and simple thing to make, that's not what I'm trying to make. There's also pan pizza. Never thought you could actually make pizza in a pan, but I do want to try that for a stream. That'd be kind of fun. Japanese milk bread, 94.
You know, it's not bad. Pan pizza isn't that bad.
I wouldn't imagine it to be. Okay, so 2 cups plus 3 tablespoons. So that's 11 ounces all day, and then that. Okay, so that does make sense. That checks out then, because that's only like 2 to 1. That's 50%. With 50%, that's not that much. That's a safe bet of 50%. It looks like what I got pretty much. It's just that the texture better. Yeah. I was very, very correct on feeling skeptical because I also learned about tangzong and stuff about that. Like, how do you make a proper tangzong? Turns out the entire time of me making it, I've been making it wrong. So, there's that. I've been overcooking it in a sense. So, in reality, what my percentage actually truly is, because I was able to account into the true hydration. The funny thing is that my hydration percentage is actually not 55, which is what I was trying to go for. It's actually 88. The basic science when it comes to bread is that usually the higher hydration, the less tight the crumb will be. It'll be a lot more airy and fluffy and soft, and it has all these like nice pockets. Like, if you look at sourdough and then you look at white bread, you can tell that the crumb is a lot more different than each other. So usually I wanted to take into account of hydration percentage. The higher the hydration, the more holes you're gonna get. The lower hydration, the more tight and dense your bread's gonna be. With milk bread, you kind of want to be around that 50-60 range because it's that perfect combination of not too tight, but still wet enough to where it'll be nice and fluffy and soft. Because with a lot of breads, 50%, even though it's gonna be dense, it's gonna be tight. It's gonna be, as I already said, dense. So which is nice for some breads, like bagels. Bagels are fine being a little bit dense, but if you go for something a little bit more higher of a hydration, like sourdough or something like a baguette or maybe ciabatta, the outer side is going to be real crispy and crunchy, but the inside is going to be nice and fluffy and soft and airy and all this lovely sort of stuff when you can think about bread. But, yeah. 50-60 is kind of like that nice Goldilocks zone of like, perfection of like tight, but also light. But yeah, since this was initially at 88, that's actually even higher than most of my normal. That's actually higher hydration than my sourdough recipe, which I will show you all, which is simply just this. It's very simplistic. Very, very simple. However, that needs to be adjusted too, because I now realize that, you know, tasting my sourdough right now, which I'm eating right now.
All that's in there?
That's it. Nothing else. It's very, very simple.
Well, there is your starter. That's like your secret there, though.
Yeah. That's the most complicated it gets. It's the starter, but usually,
yeah.
I eat my sourdough and it's like, oh, it's great, but there was a very strange comment that someone made to me when they did try my sourdough, and they said that it was really salty, which is weird. I've never heard of that comment before, but after eating it, it's like, you know, I don't know what they meant by that at the time, but eating it now, it's like, I get it. I know what they mean by that now. So
It's supposed to taste like buttered popcorn.
yeah, it should be a nice, like, nutty flavor, and with a touch of sour. This is just kind of just straight sour, which is not a bad thing. It's very pleasant, and that tells you that there's a lot of nice fermented flavors. It's gonna be healthier, and it's that nice flavor that we all associate with good sourdough. But sometimes it's a little intense, and also I'm looking at the crumb, and the crumb is okay. It's not bad, but I do notice that there is room for improvement. So it's like, it looks good. It's okay where it is. However, a little salt goes a long way, and using too much probably can kill it. And also, I've also noticed how some of my breads can also be a little bit not as high as the other ones. So I'm starting to realize, is that just because of either the cold weather that's out recently, because since it's still winter springtime, hydration, fermentation, proofing, rising, all this sort of stuff is going to happen a lot more slowly. So I'm taking that into account too with the weather, which is a weird thing to think about when you come up with recipes, but that is something that you have to take into account for baking, especially baking. And also, since it's also very dry in my apartment, it's really hard for bread to really try and rise. So it's dry, it's cold, it's really hard for a good bulk fermentation. So putting it in my refrigerator, and it's very wet and cold in there. It's cold, which isn't bad, but has a bit of moisture, which I'm not so sure is a good thing. But that is something I have to take into account too. Like, oh, there's this and that, and then my oven, I gotta make sure my oven is up to temp, and I got a new thing to make sure that the internal temperature of the oven's good. And yeah, there's a lot of things I need to take into account here, and I have to redo a whole bunch of stuff. And I'm also doing something that I have not done in quite some time, because I've been happy with my sourdough recipe for I don't know how long. And it's been the same sourdough recipe for yeah, I'm changing the recipe. It's been the same recipe for at least a year at this point. I've not changed it at all, because I thought I hit the nail on the head. It's like, you know what, it's a perfect thing. But in light of the new situation, I want to try and take a step back here, because I'm realizing the hydration percentage is fairly basic, and although it's still not too crazy, funny enough, it actually hasn't changed at all, just by only a 0.%, if that. I do want to try to make the hydration a lot higher. Why can't I give you money? Because I do not have 500 or 1,000? I don't know, 500 or 1,000 subscribers, so you can't send me super chats, so don't send me super chats too. This is supposed to be a boring stream. Why are you enticed with this? Hold on, I need to go get my water bottle. I forgot it at my seat. Alright. So the sourdough, yeah, I haven't changed that recipe for ever. I haven't changed it for quite some time. I bumped up the water by 20 grams, but at the same time, I bumped my sourdough to my bread to like 28. So, but the thing is, for the longest time, it's been 428. So technically, my hydration has been at 65 for the longest time, and I've been comfortable with that. However, knowing with some better technique, and also understanding that, you know, machines suck, and doing this by hand is the only true and tried method, I kind of realized that sourdough has to be done by hand, and it would probably be more beneficial to do it with a higher hydration percentage as well. So, with this in mind, my sourdough is actually going to be proper. It's going to be a good temperature, it's going to be a good hydration, it's going to have proper percentages, and all this sort of stuff. So, yeah. By the way, I haven't posted it on YouTube yet, but I have made a new schedule for this week coming, and I will show you all. So this week, I don't know what I want to do Thursday, but I'm definitely gonna do something Thursday. Oh, hi Chris. But Friday, Saturday, I'm going to be doing a lot of baking. Friday and Saturday back-to-back baking stream. I got 3 days off, and you know what? We're gonna treat it well. We're gonna do some baking, and we're gonna do some baking. So I'm gonna be planning and trying a lot of bread recipes that I have, and we are going to go back through every single one. We're gonna try and retcon recipes. We're gonna try to implement recipes. We're gonna execute recipes. We're gonna try and test recipes. I'm going to be telling you everything about my bread recipes, and I'm going to be trying to do everything I can to do what I can to make these bread recipes the most simplest, easiest things to follow. Because I believe that people deserve good bread, and people also don't realize how easy it is to make good bread. So, we're going back. So far, I've written down that we're going to do sourdough, and we're going to be baking that the next day, so we're doing back to back with that. We're going to start with sourdough, bagels, and something that I haven't really been doing yet because I've been just talking so far is milk bread. The milk bread recipe that I have is in a weird state right now because the milk bread I have right here and I'm gonna eat right now, it's good. The only issue is when I think about my bread. When I think about my milk bread, I very much compare it to, where is it? Going through my Twitter because it's the only thing I have. This. I compare my milk bread to my brioche bread because essentially they are both the same thing, except one has egg, one has milk, one has egg, and one does not. My milk bread has also a tangzong, the brioche does not. It is crumbly, it is rich, it is fluffy, it is delicious, and it's also a beautiful, beautiful yellow color inside as well. However, something about my milk bread, and I do not understand why. Like, look at this brioche, it's amazing. It has this iconic sort of swirl with it as well. See it? That you get with like nice. Exactly, it's that iconic looking bread. But when you look at this, no, that's brioche too. That was a bad brioche. Either way around it, it's like you see this brioche. There is a definite there's something definitely different about this in comparison to other breads I have baked. While this milk bread is flat. It's not rising correctly. So I'm trying to think, like, why isn't it rising correctly? And then I have to now go to my spreadsheets, because this is the reason why I have my spreadsheets. I have to go through hydration percentage. I have to go make sure that the fat is not too high. I gotta make sure that everything else is not too wrong. So then I have to go back into my spreadsheets and then look at the actual recipe, because it's not the technique, it's not the kneading, because everything else is going to plan. The issue is probably the ingredients, because something is going wrong. So there are two possible things of what is actually happening. There's either too much butter, because too much butter can make it too hard for gluten to develop, and if there's no good gluten structure, it is going to collapse. So it could be that there's just too much fat. It could also be because the tangzong is not being cooked correctly, and as I've found out, it is not being cooked correctly. I've been overcooking it, to be honest with y'all. So this recipe is good, but it's kind of redundant because the tangzong I've been making is not right. So that's why there's a 2.1 version, where this is the normal version of it, but then there's this version of it where it's a lot more fine-tuned, and the percentages are actually correct. All of the ingredient percentages are correct, and I'm able to get a good lens of how everything could look too. So this milk bread, I'm trying to look through, I'm going to write it down too, is going to be the new milk bread recipe that I'm going to try. And I'm also trying to make sure I have it all separated by wets to dries. I've actually gotten so deep into this rabbit hole of baking that I'm actually even trying to experiment with what do you bake and mix with first. Because I've been realizing that, things are mixing a little bit differently. I need to try and be a little bit more courteous of that. So I'm trying to also do like the thing that everyone tells you to do, even on the YouTubes. Dries in the bowl. You mix in the wets as they mix. And, well, the results have been better. Gluten structure is building better. It's coming together a lot more quickly. And it's a lot less dry stuff. So, it's a lot more beneficial to do dry to wet into dry. So, I'm trying to make sure I have it all own separate thing. Right now I have to write down the Tangzong recipe, which is 220 grams of milk and 44 grams of flour. And then I gotta make sure I write down the bread flour, which is 556 G's bread flour, but I might want to change that because my overall is at least 1,100, which is okay, but usually for my Pullman loaves in my loaf pan that I specifically use, they usually need 150 more grams, so that's where I need to try and figure out, okay, where I'm gonna put in the rest of where am I gonna put the rest of these grams of water, the rest of these grams that I need. So it's like, what do I add? But I don't want to change the recipe too much, because then if I change one thing, like if I change my bread flour, then my Tangzong is slightly different. The percentage for salt and sugar goes down. Everything goes a little bit more wonky. So even though I'm getting closer to my recipe, it's weird. But now I just remembered that I actually do have a conversion here, because let's say I want to go with 1250. There's a conversion I have right here that converts everything I want to the higher percent. There's some fractional cell sheet nonsense that I set up right here that converts everything on a whim. So I have that, and it converts everything to what I would want. So looking at this now again, yeah, okay, it looks like I might want to 142, 303. I'm gonna leave it at 7 because I want to be at least 1.5 or 1.8 with my salt and yeast. If anything, I want to take my salt down because there's so much sugar in here that's gonna take the yeast down by association. Because when you add salt and sugar, they actually kill off the yeast a lot more quickly. Because sugar does not really necessarily help yeast. It kills yeast, because what sugar does chemically is that it occupies a lot more space in the liquid, and the liquid is being milk, which is very difficult on its own right for yeast to survive and grow in, because there's lactic acid. Acid doesn't really help yeast grow, it actually kind of kills it. So I got to think about that. And then so the yeast is actually competing against 3 things: the lactic acids, the salts, and the sugars of this bread. So I have to try and make sure that the yeast is at least slightly higher, but not too much higher to where it's going to sour the milk, or before it's actually going to die off before it can actually start to leaven, which can also be the reason and issue of why my milk bread hasn't been rising enough. I mean, granted, it's rising nicely. It's fluffy on the inside, has a nice crumb on the outside, but it doesn't have that lovely, beautiful rise. And even though that it's fluffy, it's mostly because of the Tangzong. It's not actually naturally fluffy from the yeast that is expelled when you bake it. So I have to try and take into the account of, like, yeah, I gotta worry about that as well. Yeah, there's a lot that goes in my head, as you can probably hear at this 1, 4, I'm gonna go 2, and then 2. I need to do it quick. 93. I want 93. Boost it up to 92, 62. Okay, 62 is good enough. 90%. If I go any higher than 90%, then I feel like I'm making a brioche. Brioche usually tends to be around that 10 to 15 to 18% range for fat. And although I'm being a little generous with the fat in the milk bread does require some butter, but at the same time it doesn't need butter, so it's like it adds nice fluffiness, which is already that you want in milk bread. Butter just relaxes the gluten strands and makes it a lot more fluffy and soft, though at the same time it makes it very difficult to develop gluten in the first place. So there's that to worry about as well.
The gluten becomes lazy.
No, that's the sugar. The sugar does that, actually.
Oh yeah, that makes them drunk.
Yeah, the sugar makes them drunk, and then the butter, I guess, lubricates it. Is the best way of saying it. Okay, so now I have to actually rip this page out and completely write down this milk bread again. Milk bread 3 point. It's gonna be 142 G's of milk. And it's gonna be 7 grams. No, I actually want to bump that to a good, generous 9. Want that? No, I want to bump that up to 10. Yeah, there we go. I feel a little bit more confident. It has to compete against so many other things. It has to get that little bit of... Tangzong is going to be 51 to 253. And usually with Tangzongs, they are 5 to 1. They're a 1 to 5 ratio. I have a spreadsheet already. I have cells already set of how that's going to be done, so I don't have to worry about that. All I do is put in the numbers and it does it for me, so I don't have to do calculations myself. So that's bread flour.
Are you going to be cooking any of this today?
No, I do not have the time. That, and I've I just don't have the time.
It's okay. You can do that another time.
Yep, I know.
Probably even this weekend.
Yeah. Milk flavored bread. Not exactly. It is not milk flavored bread. It's... No, I actually don't know what makes milk bread other than using milk in it. It's just so intensely soft and beautiful, fluffy and crusty and all that sort of stuff, I guess, but I don't know, milk bread is just very signature. Kind of thinking I want to cut back on the sugar too. The true sugar percentage is about 15%. It's 12% here, which is fine. I like the sweetness, and the Japanese milk bread is notably a lot more sweet. But I just don't like that. It makes me think I'm eating a pound cake, and I want to be eating a milk bread. So I might want to bump that down 10 grams, 10%, and I'll be happy. So, okay, Tangzong. East Bath.
That might deal with the structure of the bread, the texture of it, if you bump down the sugar content.
No, not really. The sugar content is mostly for flavor and also caramelization. So, it doesn't really do too much in that regard. It actually just makes it caramelize a lot more quicker, which makes it darker. Which, now that I think about it, I do want to take a quick gander at my brioche bread, because
you've had it a bit too dark.
It's not that it's too dark. It's just I don't want it to be dark. Because if you look at my brioche bread is actually at an even lower percentage. And even going with the true percent, like the real percent, it's at a 13. So I'm basing this heavily off my brioche recipe. So it should not be a brioche. It should be its own thing, but still have that signature sweetness. If I add too much sugar, I think that it's gonna be like candy. And if I add too little, then it's gonna lose that signature kind of taste and flavor when it comes to milk bread, because milk bread is inherently lightly sweet. So I think going for like an 8%, 10% is a good way to start.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to try C68. That should be fine. 68 is... I like 68. 224, that should be good enough. It's at least in the 1,200 range, and that's good enough. So the dry is 632 grams. Then 68, and then 7 grams of salt, which is kind of funny because that's a lot of like everything else, but then you only have 7 grams of salt. You know what they say, a little goes a long way.
Mm-hmm.
I'm also trying to think about experimenting with what is it? Experimenting with different kind of sweeteners. But at the same time, I'm taking a step back.
More sugar.
Because if I don't really want to do any sweetener yet. I want to try and, if I can get the base down, which is why I want to perfect these recipes so badly. I want to perfect these recipes perfectly. So when time comes to when I want to be creative with these recipes, I just change one thing and I don't have to worry about it. 62, how much fat? That is true, that's good. Okay, 9% still. Okay, I like that. I like that. Okay, maybe it's a good idea to have sugar and fat be kind of the same ballpark, no? But I will go with 62. There's also another thing I was looking into, and that is like what is gonna be the most optimal time and temperature to bake these at. Time is something that you can't really put a number down. You have to observe that. That is field work that you have to do yourself. But when it comes to temperature, there's usually a very simple rule of thumb of what you are baking. If you are baking something enriched or something that has a lot of sugar, or actually just have sugar in general, 375 is the way to go. If you have something that is more lean, something that is a crusty, something that is a very lean kind of bread, I'm gonna go for 450 because it has no sugar, so you're gonna have to try and naturally caramelize it with the starches and sugars that are in the yeast, in the flour. So with higher temps, you want to make sure you're using a lean bread, because if you also bake stuff at a lower temperature with a lean bread, it doesn't rise as well. And that's why I want to make sure I'm with my milk breads, that I'm doing all these perfect conversions of the sugar, because the sugar is going to make it too dark or whatever it may be. So I'm trying to make sure everything that's okay. But usually good rule of thumb is 375. 15 minutes is good, but I gotta try and check the 15 minute rule if that's gonna be good. I might need to do 10-15 and then 15-10, or maybe 20-10, 25, 20-20. Who knows? The thing that I gotta. That's my milk bread. So glad that I was able to get all that tinkering done, because the milk bread has been a big pain. I don't really need this one. So, milk bread is good, that's all fine and dandy. Oh, and Tangzong. Tangzong, you usually want to be 8% of your, you usually want that to be at least 8. You want the Tangzong. To make the Tangzong, it is a 1-to-5 ratio, but to get that 1-to-5 ratio, you first need to try and find the percentage of your bread flour, because usually you want to use at least 8% of the bread flour's total weight, and then you want to multiply that by 8%, and then you get that number, and then you would then use that as your bread flour placement, and then you multiply that number by 5 times, which is 253, and that would be your liquid placement. But I'm also trying to think now that if I want to give the yeast the best possible chances of survival and trying to actually grow, I believe my brioche uses water? No, it uses milk. I'm pretty sure I actually use milk on water, actually, but I can't remember. I'll have to look back at my streams, but
I honestly don't know why you'd use water in this one, because it is known as a milk bread.
It's cheaper. Especially with brioche. It's cheaper. Water is always cheaper. It's not free, but it's like, you know. So the brioche Pullman is still fine. I might want to look into that though, because that won't. But I like my brioche recipe. That is a recipe I'm not going to change. Might change up the spreadsheet a bit, just to update it a bit more, but that's it. that recipe is completely perfectly fine. It makes a good product, though if anything, I might actually do want to tinker it, because here, I'll show you the case study. The case study of my brioche, which is something that has been bothering me for every single time I do bake it, is this. This thing right here. It's pretty, it's cool, but I don't like it. When I think of a nice, beautiful... When I think of a nice loaf of brioche, I think of something like this. It's whole, no blemishes, nothing's wrong with it. It is just one perfect uniform shape. So that either can be due to gluten development, it can be there's too much yeast, it's overproofed, or, which is probably more or less the case, it is not shaped correctly. So I gotta probably take the shaping into account as well. But I highly doubt it's shaping, because when I do shape bread, I try and be very, very caring and careful about that, so it can't possibly be that. Might be a little bit of a self-righteous thing of like, oh, it can't be that, it can't possibly be that, even though that it might be the case. So yeah, gotta take stuff into that into account as well. Okay, let's see here. Oh, bread though, that's pretty much that. That's gonna be the new recipe. Brioche though, if I can get my hands on some egg yolks, I will definitely try to make another brioche recipe. This is the same recipe that I used for my thing, correct? I need to make sure that these are both up to date in the recipe. Red flour 545, milk 182, yeast 17, sugar 70. They are the same. So I'm going to do a copy, create a copy, 5.1, because now I want to do a true percentage of all these. C2, that's a very high percentage. Oh yeah, that definitely is probably the reason then. Yeah, I know it has to compete for a lot of things, but man, 13%, 3% is quite a lot though. Might want to try and test this recipe out too. And although this is technically says a 79%, it's not truly 79, it's weird. Because I don't know how to put an egg hydration into the actual hydration recipe. So that's something I gotta look into as well.
Egg hydration probably would add more.
Yeah, but the thing about that is I use pure egg yolks. Egg yolks have very little water in them. They are mostly fat.
Okay, you're right about that.
So there's that I got to do.
Just a little more.
Yeah, so taking even benefit of the doubt, let's say it's like 175, even half of that, then it makes us 65%, which is more around the kind of the thing I'm going for. But I like to think that it's like 2 parts fat and then 1 part water. So then I have to do, okay, gotta get my calculator. Hold on. So 250, and then I gotta multiply about 333. That's around 82. So for 82, rounded up to 83, it's about 48. So either way around it, the egg is kind of a weird outlier. I don't know the true percentage of it, and I don't know how to check the true percentage of it. And also, I don't remember if I used large eggs or medium eggs or extra large eggs, and that's just something I don't honestly care about to look into it. So.
It seems like it's a bit more of a remedial thing.
Yeah, it's just something that I think I chalk up to experimentation. Yeah. So let's see. I'm gonna do 2%, but I'm also gonna do some edits here. I think salt definitely needs to get cut down to 10. The yeast needs to really chill out, but I'll take it out to 12, take it down a few notches. That's even a lot. You know what? You can't go over the classic 1-to-1 salty. Fat is at a nice 25, which is very, very rich, very, very good. You want that in a nice, rich, and fatty brioche. You really, really want that. Yeah, that's pretty good. Not too much of a difference. It just now it has the proper math, and that's really it. So I got that in mind. I'll write it down. I really feel like doing it. 5, 4, 5, 2, 10, 73, 10, 7, 3, 1, 3, 7, 250. It's funny, I actually do, despite me having a very klutzy memory, I can remember what all these are just because I know the numbers, what they associate with. Other than the salt and yeast, because they're just the same and I just can't remember which is where, but they are all pretty much the same thing and I can remember all of them. 73 is sugar, 173 is butter, 250 is egg, 375 is what temperature it should be cooked at, it's enriched. So there's that. Yep, I will test that recipe again. It's gonna be a great brioche recipe all around, but it's still that thing of like, will it though? Is it going to be? Gotta test and make sure to find out. So the challah I'm not gonna change, it's fine the way it is. It's challah, it's supposed to be dense and it's supposed to be like a dollar store brioche really. I'm just gonna really quickly change what they are supposed to treat. Just funny because you look at this and then you notice that challah is pretty much just brioche. A little bit different. It doesn't have butter because butter is not kosher. Yeah, I'm not gonna really change that. I'm not gonna experiment. I might want to make it on the stream though, but it's a lot to make. But at the same time, I kind of don't want to make it because it does make a lot. So how do you? Oh yeah, it's dividing the recipe. Okay, cool. Then I want to write this side then. Challah. By 40, 60, 12, 7, 5. That is red flour, the yeast, water, sorry. Water, yeast, honey, salt. I'll probably, I'm not sure. Cut out. King Arthur challah bread. The focaccia. The focaccia bread, focaccia's a weird one. Focaccia has many styles of bread. Focaccia has many variations of style.
There's a whole lot of different flavoring you can put on focaccia.
It generally has just so much different style.
Oh,
There's so many ways to make focaccia. You can make crunchy, crispy focaccia. You can eat the crust, fluffy focaccia. There is just generally a lot going with focaccia.
Focaccia, you can just dip that in some
Olive oil.
garlic oil and just go to town.
Garlic oil, I like that. I respect it.
I actually have some garlic oil. I've made some garlic confit And it's just swimming in that oil.
It's easy to make garlic confit. It's a lot easier than what people.
It's so easy. People don't realize it, and it's like a hack for garlic bread.
What's the really? This percentage is that low. That high, even with that little. I'm gonna bump it down to 7 then. Salt. I like that flavor. That olive oil is fine. I might make focaccia. Like, that's something I don't really much just like it. But you know what? Maybe I might be in the mood for focaccia pizza. Might do that. Let's see.
That sounds really good.
Focaccia 2.0. Okay. So 50, 100, 7. Oh. Actually, you know what? If I'm doing a pre-ferment, a proper pre-ferment, I'm gonna make it higher hydration. It'll benefit a lot more from a higher hydration. It'll be a lot more fluffy and has a lot more airiness to it, so it'll be a lot more beneficial for that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll do a proper 150 grams of double O, which I have, water as well, and then the yeast. It's almost like a dollar store starter, if you will. And I gotta get just 350 of flour, 200 water, 10 grams of salt. Honey is at 12%. Do I really want the sweetener being that high though? Like, it's nice, but it's just, I really want it. Yeah, I kind of do. It's funny. It's such a small amount of honey, but it really does make a huge difference. Especially with that too.
I mean, honey does have sugar in it, so.
Yeah, it's a sweetener.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still funny of how little goes a long way, especially for honey. I find myself using a lot less honey than I really think.
Yeast really loves honey. I mean, like,
no, it actually doesn't. Honey's an acid.
You know, you're right. They usually. It's got a lot of sugar in it.
Yes, but it has no water. It is pure
no
sucrose.
Oh.
It's acidic. It has some pH to it. Has no water to it.
Wait, so it just straight up kills. It just straight up kills yeast.
It's like if you gave someone black tar heroin.
Oh, so it's.
It doesn't kill them. It just makes them a little loopy, to say simple.
Interesting.
Pizza dough, I might not want to finick with. It's a little bit too complicated. Enriched. Well, let me go with my. Okay, I'm doing the bagel recipe. We're not touching banana or pie dough because those are both fine the way they are. However, let's go into something that I don't show on stream at all. These are my experimental recipes. The recipes that I experiment with when I don't even talk about these recipes that much either. These are recipes that I want to try and perfect, and have yet found time to perfect it, other than today. I'm gonna go get my book here. I'm gonna just really quickly look through it right now. There it is, deli rye. Right. I want to make rye bread. It's a definite thing I want to make, but I don't know how to make it, which is always the issue. Shaping it is always a weird thing, but I got a recipe book and I've looked up some actual recipes, and I got a lot of rye flour that I need to get rid of. So I'm going to be using my book here as a guide and then try and make a proper recipe with the one I have been experimenting trying to make. Testing.
You scored when you got that rye bread from that rye flour from your job.
Yeah. They actually have more. I'm half tempted to ask them, can I have it? But I'm too lazy. That's the thing. Maybe. We'll see.
I don't know. That stuff is like it's waiting gold.
It's waiting. Waiting for me. Especially, I want to get more recipes written down as well, because at my job, we have a station where we make sandwiches.
For besides bread?
What's up?
What would you use the rye flour for besides bread?
It's very good in sourdough. Adds a nice nuttiness, adds more nutrition, flavor, all this sort of stuff. And actually, funny enough, if you use a little bit of rye in sourdough, it gives it a better rise. Kind of a pun if you think about it.
Interesting.
Rye gives rise. It has the whole bran. It has the whole seed. Whole wheat flour is like the actual whole wheat. You have the endosperm, you have the germ, and then you have the bran. Sourdough, sour starter loves all of those things. Helps it grow. It's like giving someone penicillin. They feel so good after it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So, alright, let's see. What's the hydration percentage of this? So it's 1 ounce. Oh, that's 2 pounds. No, that's 1 pound. Much water. Oh, that's fairly high. Almost like 70. Okay, so 16 divided by 10. That is just. Oh wait, sorry. 10 divided by 16. Yeah, that is just 62. Oh wow, look at that. I'm just on the dime with the hydration then. Perfect. Yeah. I don't want to use molasses because I don't want to make a dark rye. If you ever want to make a dark rye, use molasses. But I don't want to make a dark rye. I want to make a nice white deli rye.
Molasses is dark in the first place.
Oh, if you also want to talk about actual black tar heroin for bread, that is molasses. It is acidic, it is bitter, and extremely sweet. You want to talk about black tar? That's it. 2 teaspoons. Alright, so maybe instead of tablespoons, let's go for 2 teaspoons. Oh, a little overzealous.
Gotcha. I wonder what weed would be like for bread.
What would weed? Well, I guess it would make it high up its mind. I don't know what would constitute bread being high, though, you know?
No. It's not something to contemplate either. Sorry.
Alright. Let's see. Oh, geez, yeah, that's a high salt content. That's a low yeast content. I do want to try and go for like a nice Pennsylvania Dutch style, which is gonna make it, I think, kosher, I believe. That works.
Interesting.
Because I want to try and make it, I just want to make it like the Pennsylvania Dutch bread. They do good sandwiches. They do good pastrami and Reubens. They do amazing sandwiches. So I don't know what to think. I don't know how the Pennsylvania Dutch do it, but they do some good bread. So I'm trying to take inspiration from them.
I mean, they're Dutch. Dutch are. I mean, aren't they known for baking?
They're mostly known for like their Jewish kind of food and such.
Yeah.
It actually seems like the sweetener for this actually honey, which I'm actually fine with. The more honey, the better. Okay, but it only looks like about 2 teaspoons. 2 teaspoons is roughly around 16. We'll go for 6. Right? Go for 8. Sweetener. Caraway is kind of just like traditional garnish. Use light or white rye. Dark rye is overpowering. That sounds about right. Dark rye is just so very nutty. It's such a very like whole wheat flavor. It's very intense. So.
Mm-hmm.
But this is used 100%. No, it uses. Oh, it uses 2 to 1. Okay. So. Is 370? Is that really half of it? 375 divided by 2. Yeah, that's 188. Okay, cool. Oh wow, I can't. No, that makes. Sorry. Oil. Pretty much the same. I'm probably gonna cut the oil down to 6. No, that's probably. They're both different by weight. Volume is. They're the same. Well, volume is completely different. Hydrations. Alright, so let's see. Double check on mine. What am I missing? Water, fries, salt, yeast. Yeah, it looks like my recipe is pretty much almost like this. Like all the percents, all the stuff makes sense. So we're gonna go with that. The only thing that's probably different is just the simple hydration percentage. So let's check that out real quick. So 375 plus 188 equals 563. So 375 divided by 563. That is about 66%. I don't know why I did the hydration percentage. It's literally right here. I am smart. Alright, so 375. 16 to 16. Intense for water. Caraway seeds, so 2.5. Caraway. Caraway now. Oh yeah, the salt content. That is way too salty. I do not like that. My name might be salty, but listen, that's a little too salty. Let's take it down to 8. Uh, 26. Oil. 188. 5. Nope. That's the rye bread. New rye. That should be how that works. We're gonna try and do that this week. Experimental recipe. We're gonna try and check that out. If this rye bread turns out really good, then I'm gonna put that into the official recipe book I have. Lasagna is lasagna. We're not gonna bother with that. Donuts though.
That's a challenge.
Later. That is enriched and it is fried. That is very difficult for me. I'm not gonna try and do that yet. If anything, I might try to do beignets, but what's more, another time. We're starting with the simple breads this time around. And simple, next thing you know, I'm going to talk about making pretzels, which aren't simple at all. They are, in fact, very, very hard.
Yeah, they're not easy.
I'm not going to use lye, though, because
no,
that stuff's scary.
Yeah.
Like, do you know what that stuff can do to, like, it can do to, hands?
It can deteriorate them, I think.
Oh yeah, it's literally just acid.
Yep.
Isn't it kind of funny of how we use these dangerous things and we just accept them in our things?
You boil bread and it's like, yeah, that's not affected by the lye at all.
Yeah. It's crazy that it actually doesn't.
It is, but it's only affected in a good way. But how does that make sense when that acid can literally just eat through a can?
Yeah, it's kind of scary if you think about it. But at the same time, you know what else is kind of scary? Using an open fire.
Oh wait, camping a few times when I was a kid, and
50 degrees.
shit, I've even cooked fish on a rock that was over an open fire. Albeit I didn't know what the heck I was doing at the time, but I still did it.
Fair enough. Yeah, I gotta go with I'm gonna go eat with this recipe, but I want to see their basic time and stuff that they're for. Baking time is 35 minutes. Dang, that is a long time. I'm going to adjust. I'm going to adapt. We're gonna go for 425. Not really enriched, but it's still lean. Actually, you know what? No. Hell of it. It's not enriched. It only has like a bit of honey, but it's not even a negotiable amount to make it be worrisome. So 450 it is, and then we're gonna go for 25 minutes. You know what they say? You can always go more, but you can't take less. Alright. Pretzels. Do my pretzel recipe. Rye. Little rye. Rich. Brioche, challah, donut. We'll worry about donut another time. I'm gonna put that in my test folder. Sandwich bread or sandwich bread? Let's go to pretzels. Alright, let's see here. I believe pretzels are gonna be a bit more tight. They're gonna be a lot more dense than your average bread. But we accept it as that because we like a nice dense pretzel. So, let's see. 400, that's around 21 ounces. What's the water? So 12 to 21. Dang, okay. That's 57. I'm at 59, so we're still in a good ball. We're in good range with that. All right, cool. Around 7. That's just that's around a packet. So. Do I have yeast? I have yeast. Dark brown sugar. Interesting. No butter, no egg. Very interesting. I like to enrich my pretzels, honestly. I'm not sure about anyone else, but remember when people used to go to malls? And there's this one thing in the mall that's called Aunt Annie's. I love the pretzels. They're always so rich. They're always buttery and stuff like that, but there's no butter in it. So I try and replicate that and try and do it like this. Try adding some sort of
pretzels on the face of the planet. We have those down here.
Yeah, they're
so
so
like
good.
in just about every single mall.
They're so good though.
I think there's one at the mall that's like by my house. I might go there just to check. I know there's a place that sells gourmet cookies, but there's also crumble cookie for that as well. Of course, why do that when I could make my own cookies?
Okay. Yeah, I definitely gotta bump these up because I want to make sure I can make 6 each. It's always good, rule of thumb for me, if I can make at least half a dozen with one recipe. How about 198? 200. Okay, I'm gonna be changing the recipe as I go. I definitely am gonna probably get rid of the egg. The egg is not needed. Butter, it's all things considered, that's really high. 32 might be better. Yeah, 9%, 8%, I like that range. Sugar, I like adding a bit of sweetness. I would go as far as saying it needs a little more, but only a little. There we are. Now I just gotta play with the water and the flour a bit. 382. No, that's still too high. 400? Still too high. 428. Okay, well, I guess that's always just my go-to number. Yeah, I'll need just a few more grams so I can get that half dozen I want. 4, 6. That's really all it for that recipe. You know, actually no, I'm not gonna throw in an egg. It's like, you might as well throw it in there. No, I don't need an egg, so I'm not gonna add an egg. I don't really need a binder for it all. Actually, no, eggs make things a little bit more dense, especially when you use a whole egg, so I might want to use one egg. On top of my head, a whole egg is about 50 grams, so that's fine. Egg. And actually, here, let me do some field research here. Okay, field research. What we got? Show me what you got. Show me what you got. No egg. Alright. That has no egg. That has no egg. It actually has no butter. Yeah, it has, okay, so maybe I don't want to use egg. It's not traditional.
I think your stream just... Okay.
What's up?
Your stream just ended and started again. I mean...
Which one?
This... Hang on, wait a minute.
We're still live on my end.
That's weird. Why did it change? What the fuck? I didn't press on anything and it changed channel. That's weird. Alright, sorry. Sorry, that's my fault.
That's alright.
Did that.
Alright, Alright, well, I'm gonna omit the egg then. And I'm just going to bump up this to... I need to put 56 somewhere. It's fine if it's... I wanted to keep it at 56. 56 to 60 is a really good range. So... for 32... Oh wait, that might be it. For 32, and then we're gonna go for... Actually, you know what? We'll go with this for now. That's a good recipe. I like how it looks. I've checked my references. We're pretty much on point. And I want to go for Aunt Annie's. So that's what we're going to go for. For 3, 2, 2, 2, 5, 7, 18, 7, 2. Yeah. I haven't made pretzels in quite a long time, so it'll be very fun to make this again. Though I do like the idea of dark brown sugar, so I might want to change the sugar to dark brown. Because dark brown sugar has molasses in it, and it makes it a bit more rich flavored. So I kind of like that idea.
Oh no.
What?
Your stream went kind of... it buffered for a moment and you kind of started sounding robotic.
It is not buffering on my end. Hey, anyone in chat? Anyone in chat wants to say anything?
Could be on my
Might just
end.
be you.
Yeah.
What is this gonna be?
That's because it the reason why is because it turned the quality down. That's why.
Okay, 425. Just butter in it. Okay, so mine is enriched. So let's go for 400. I'm gonna go for 400. Get that nice medium. Oh wait, no, that's the poaching one. Oh, so how do you bake it at? Temperature to bake this at? Oh no, it is 400. Okay, so 425. I'm gonna go for 400, and I am going to cook for 10 to 18. Check that out. All right, pretzels done. The pretzel recipe is working, and I want to. So there was another recipe in this book that I want to try. Okay, there's another recipe that I saw because it was interesting. But I also probably know how to make it. I'm actually gonna probably use my other recipe, my all-purpose recipe, because I believe they're the same thing. But I want to see how you make Kaiser rolls because their shape's different. There's nothing special about a Kaiser roll, other than that they're Kaiser rolls, which are great in their own right. But there's nothing really extremely mind-boggling, if you will, you know? Yeah, okay, let's see here. It looks like a 50-50 by the looks of it, so that is a 16. Dividing that by 27.5. Yeah, 58%. Yeah, 58-50. And you know what? Let's take a little gander. Let's take a little gander at my Pullman bread sandwich bread recipe, which is actually my all-purpose bread recipe. 2, 2, 2, 2. I actually changed this. I'll actually oil instead. Try and make it dairy free, so it's more of a protein. All right, I'm gonna test my AP bread. This is very funny to say out loud, but I'm gonna test it because I can. Though I might want to cut down this recipe by a bit. There's a lot. So let's divide that by 2. So it's a little high. I might want to turn it down. Really not much going on with it though. Fat is pretty much at the standard. Fat is at 3 tablespoons. It's gonna be about 1/2 ounce. So we'll do 22.5 divided by 7.5. We're at 0.9. We're at 9%. My fat is a little under. We're at 6%. So I kind of want to leave that how that is. Sweeteners though. This has a sweetener, right? Oh, it does. 4 teaspoons. That's actually kind of low. I actually go for a kind of higher one. But thinking about how this is kind of high, all things considered, I might want to tone it down. A sweetener is nice and all, but at the same time, it's like can be overbearing. So I'll bump it down to 8. 2%. I like that. Actually, it's a salt. We'll go for 24. Felt that I changed my mind. Okay, so I'm gonna test this all-purpose, and we'll make it into Kaiser rolls. So 380, 338, 50, 5.5. I'm gonna actually round it up to 6 grams. Sugar will be 9, 6, and then that is 26. Why can't I do that? 40. It's 21. I'm I was thinking way too hard about that. Oil, salt, sugar, water, red flour. That will turn into Kaiser roll. And since it is it is not really enriched with anything that is going to be going into. Actually, no. If I'm doing a Kaiser roll, it's going to be kind of light, so we'll go for 375. And how long do we want to try and look for baking this? Well, it says about 30 to 35, so I'm gonna go for 25 to a little bit of buffer. There we go. And that should be pretty much all of that stuff. Okay, it looks like I got quite the list of breads to try and bake. We got a grand total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's gonna be a lot of bread.
That's gonna be a lot of bread.
9 whole loaves of bread to try and finick with and play with around. Oh boy. It's gonna be. We'll consider this my my thank you stream for getting me to 450. Yeah. I think
and this is just experiment 1.
Yeah. It's gonna be put between the 2 days though. Some of the stuff is gonna be next day stuff that I have to worry about, but yeah. I can prep it for the day beforehand and then we'll figure that out as we go. But yeah. Alright, I did all my silly math nonsense, so the smartboard can go away. And I would say that I think...
Okay.
Eventually, once this smartboard goes away. Okay, go. Get out of here. Going way too slow. Okay. That's that. That was a nice little gorilla stream. Don't really have to think too much, just just productivity. So yeah, all the prep time, do that little thing, had a little fun, little chat. Yeah, tired. Alright, well, thank you all for tuning in today. I'm going to be heading off, and thank you Alucard for accompanying me. I'm going to be getting off as soon as I can.
Awesome.
As I am probably going to go to sleep.
Nice talking to you.
So yep, it was nice talking to you, Alucard. I'm gonna get off VC right now. See you around. Bye bye.
Later.
And thank you, chat, for tuning in with me today as well. I don't think we have enough viewers to go raid someone, so we are not going to raid anyone today. Actually, I lied. We are going to raid. Pero me. And yeah, we will go raid her. Thank you all for tuning in today. I will see you all this week. We will be baking a lot of bread, and you better be excited for it. Alright, thank you for tuning in today. Hope you have a good one. I will see you around when I see you. Alright, bye bye. Otsukichi, and ciao.